Hello everyone. Today's video is about whether low-dose immunotherapy is a form of homeopathy or not. Just before jumping into the video, if you don't mind taking a quick moment to please like, share, subscribe, and or post a quick comment on the video, I'd really appreciate it. So thanks in advance for taking a second to do that. And as per usual, nothing I'm saying should be construed as medical advice. This is for informational purposes only, and if you need medical advice, please talk to your healthcare provider to get that advice. So somebody posted a question on one of my videos. The original video is called A Profound Treatment for Pandas and Pans, where I'm talking about using low-dose immunotherapy. That's the profound treatment for pandas and pans. Certainly not a panacea for every case. No pun intended there, panacea. Certainly not a perfect solution for everyone with a pandas or pans diagnosis, but it can be super, super helpful in just of all the various health conditions that are out there. There's a disproportionately high response rate to low-dose immunotherapy in pediatric patients or adult patients who have a diagnosis of pandas or pans. By adult patients, I mean that some kids, unfortunately, when they develop pandas or pans, it doesn't just go away, and then they become adults, and then they're adults that still have pandas and pans, even though they're no longer pediatric. So anyways, with all that aside, the question was, is this considered a form of homeopathy? And so thank you for the question. So with low-dose immunotherapy and homeopathy, they have so many things in common that not so many things, but they have some key things in common that one would think, yeah, it's probably a form of homeopathy. The biggest thing they have in common is that they're both very dilute. Homeopathics are very dilute by their nature. Low-dose immunotherapy is also dilute, hence calling it low dose. And so there's kind of that overlap there. And the other big overlap is that the doctor who developed low-dose immunotherapy, Dr. Ty Vincent from Hawaii, formerly from Alaska, he decided to use the same nomenclature for low-dose immunotherapy that's used in homeopathy, specifically this centesimal scale nomenclature. So in other words, you might find a homeopathic that's, say, like a 6C homeopathic of Arnica montana or a 12C potency of Arnica montana, where Dr. Vincent would say, oh, there's, say, the strep mix, so there's a 6C potency, a 7C potency, an 8C potency. And so he's using the same nomenclature because C just, to my understanding, stands for centesimal. I think that's what it stands for anyways. It is a centesimal scale, so meaning that it's a scale that goes by 100. So a 6C is 100 times more concentrated than a 7C, which is 100 times more concentrated than an 8C. So it's a centesimal scale. So given those two similarities, or things in common, I should say, is like, yeah, LDI, maybe it's like homeopathy, but that's really where the similarity ends. The big differences between LDI and homeopathy, and if you haven't gleaned already, in my opinion, LDI is not homeopathy. It's quite different. One of the big differences is that in homeopathy, homeopathy is sort of driven by this principle of like cures like, or it's kind of the law of similars, in that you're trying to find a remedy that is similar to the disease state to the patient, not the exact same thing. So in other words, with homeopathy, if someone, say, was afflicted with Lyme disease and they had all these symptoms related to Lyme, you wouldn't give them the Lyme homeopathic to try to make them better. You would give them a different remedy that kind of has a similar set of characteristics to what Lyme can cause. Whereas with LDI, we're giving the antigen, the formula of the thing that's causing the problem. So, child with pandas, strep is the trigger. Well, you give them strep LDI. You wouldn't generally give strep homeopathic to try to help with pandas if one was using homeopathy. Another big difference is that with homeopathy, traditionally it's felt or practiced or believed or whatnot that the more dilute the remedy gets, the stronger the homeopathic is. So a 6C homeopathic would be markedly weaker, generally speaking, than a 1000C homeopathic, which would also be known as a 1M homeopathic, because now you're in the thousands scale. And so whereas with low-dose immunotherapy, more dilute means weaker, so meaning a 6C LDI formula would be markedly stronger than, say, a 12C low-dose immunotherapy formula. So like the potency principles or observations are totally different. They're opposite. So those are really the two kind of major differences between the two. The thing that I would last thought that I'll share on this is that there's a lot of similarity between low-dose immunotherapy and something called sublingual immunotherapy, or SLIT therapy for short, which is used in traditional allergy therapy to treat allergies to dust and flowers and pollen and cats and things like that. And so with those formulations, they're also very dilute formulas of whatever is causing the problem for someone. So someone has a dust allergy, where you're going to give them diluted dust drops or tablets, and it wouldn't be necessarily, say, like at a 6C potency, would it be in that realm? If memory serves, I think it's around like maybe the equivalent of a 2C or a 3C or something like that, but still very, very dilute. So you're giving these remedies that are like these treatments with sublingual immunotherapy that's using a dilute form of the thing that's causing the problem, just like we do with LDI. And the less dilute it gets, the stronger it is. So if you started with a lower concentration of sublingual immunotherapy for dust, and let's say you're starting at a 3C potency, well, gradually you probably build up to, say a 2.5, 2C and higher as you're kind of building up a tolerance to that substance. So there's actually a lot more in common with low dose immunotherapy to something like sublingual therapy or say to allergy shots than there would be to homeopathy. So long story short, in my opinion, LDI is not homeopathy. It's not considered a homeopathic treatment. There's a lot of overlap there, but there are some marked differences. Now, with that being said, if we're kind of looking at the safety and the sort of lack of interactions and things like that with using low dose immunotherapy, like there's actually the safety profile of homeopathy and LDI is identical. And like for all intents and purposes, even though we're kind of talking semantics here, it's like in many ways an LDI formula could be considered a homeopathic because it has a lot in common, even though therapeutically the principles that we use are very different. So from a safety perspective, a lot in common. From a mechanism perspective, there's a lot that's much more in line with it being like a sublingual immunotherapy or something kind of like a allergy desensitization type treatment. So thank you for the question. I hope this information was of interest and helpful. If anybody has any questions or comments on this topic or anything else, just post in the comment section below, and I will do my best to answer as soon as I can.